1 Central Time here in beautiful Edmonton, Kentucky. We are on the TD show. We've been talking a little college football, talked about the new Nick Saban rule, talked about Johnny Manziel, going to the Texans. I think we're going to move over. We'll talk a little football, but we're going to move to the pros. Got some new things came up in this Johnny Martin, Richie Incognito deal. I kind of wish it'd go away, but it won't.
Sir
We'll
Richard.
keep hearing about it. Yes, Sir Richard. Sorry.
He's still a big guy.
Yeah.
And now we know he bullies. But anyway, I mean, me and you said last week we thought it was mutual. I mean, we know Richie Incognito's a bad guy.
Yeah. I mean
we knew that.
he's a punk.
Right, we knew that.
I think he's a good guy. I mean that, I think if your car's broke down, Richie Incognito would help you. You know, it's a lot of money to charity. I mean, it could just be for taxes. But he's not a friendly guy. We know he's a punk on the football field and the football-related activities. I mean, I've never had dinner with
So
him.
you think if you were broke down on the side of the road and Sir Richard Incognito drove by in his Escalade, he would pull over and be like, "You need some help, bro?"
I think it's possible.
He'd probably say, "You need some help, cracker?" or something along those lines.
I mean, I don't know, but I think it's possible.
I think he'd probably ask you if you needed help and then laugh at you and spin tires and drive off.
No.
But I mean, all that aside, we knew last week he was a bad guy.
We knew
Nothing changed between then
Right.
and now to make us know that. And I still don't know. I mean, they say that the text messages don't tell the entire story, that Martin played along or whatever. He was doing some good playing along, in my opinion. If that was 100% Richie Incognito and 0% Jonathan Martin, he had me fooled.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know if it's a mental state that we just can't wrap our minds around, but I've heard a lot of people this week saying, on the four letters that there is some kind of condition when you're bullied, you try and emulate the bully to make him stop liking you. I mean, I've never been bullied to this extent. I've been picked on a little bit, and I never said, you know what, this is fun. I'm going to pretend like I'm going to pick on people too. The only times I've ever been picked on, I've said, stop picking on me, or I've removed myself from the situation, which is what Johnny Martin did, but I never said, I'm going to pick on you back. I said, stop picking on me or it's going to get bad. We both been in locker rooms. Most of our lives.
With a guy that could be as much as a punk as
yeah, we've
Richie
been in locker rooms with a guy like this. What happened when he picked on people that didn't like it? Well, I mean, what happened when he picked on guys that said, you know what, I've had enough getting picked on? We saw some altercations.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine that it was 0% Jonathan Martin, 100% Richie Incognito. And I mean, I know they say that it was two other guys and that they bullied him and another lineman and the Asian trainer, but I just feel like to some extent this wasn't bullying. This was two friends.
Here's the thing: if this is really something bad and really something you hate, there has got to be someone that you trust enough to talk to about it on your team. There's got to be someone else on that team that you can say, look, Richie, if you don't have the guts to go talk to Richie or you don't want to talk to Richie face to face, there's got to be a defensive lineman, a buddy, someone else you know that you can say, look, Richie is kind of bothering me. We need to talk to him about this. There's got to be someone to have your back. You have an agent. You didn't say anything to your agent until after it was all over with. You've got coaches. You didn't say. The report showed he didn't say anything to a single coach, trainer, anybody in the organization. He didn't talk to anybody but his mom.
Let's go here with you.
Okay.
Me and you are friends.
Yeah.
We played high school basketball together.
Yeah.
There was times we lived together at College Suites in Bowling Green after high school and college.
Yeah.
There were times when we were still friends, but we played pranks and jokes and things like that on each other.
And there's times that we got in fights.
Yeah, and
then it was over.
At no time did I think, this guy is bullying me.
Yeah.
I need to go do something.
I need to go check myself into rehab.
Bring some attention to this somehow because he's bullying me.
Yeah, that never happened. I mean, there's been times that I wanted to kill you, but at the same time, I never thought, you know what, he's bullying me because we're different. Because I couldn't grow a beard at the time.
I just feel like there is a lot more to this story than what came out yesterday, saying that Richie Incognito and these two guys were solely responsible for bullying Jonathan Martin. He was the victim in all of it.
Here's the thing. I don't want to be insensitive or unsensitive.
Right.
But I think, without this sounding terrible, Jonathan Martin has some sort of mental issue. I honestly believe that. I don't know if he's got some. I don't want to joke about it because I'm not a scientist.
Right.
I don't know it. But
Or
I think he's got psychologist. I think he's got some kind of mental issue. Maybe he can't distinguish certain things, or he can't compartmentalize certain things, or I don't know. I don't want to say that he's going out seeking attention, seeking money out of this, because I don't know. So I'm sticking with the fact that I think he's got some sort of an illness.
Yeah, and maybe he just didn't like Jonathan Martin. Maybe he got to a point where he said, I don't like you, which is cool. Yeah. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to choose your friends and decide, you know what, I don't want to be friends with him. But that doesn't mean that all this stuff that happened before, you can go back and turn the story around to something else that maybe you weren't friends then either.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't understand. With all that being said, do you think Richie Incognito gets a job?
Well, that's something we talked about last week. It's something I thought of. Last week we both said he would, and I still think he will. I mean, I know this came out today, and the popular culture on it is that he's the bad guy and that he shouldn't. And I mean, I've seen things and
but that's not NFL culture that's saying that.
Well, I've seen things from former NFL players saying he should be banned, that he should be suspended.
Well, let me give you the quote I've got from the current from Ryan Clark here.
Okay.
The only person I know that knows Richie Incognito personally said the day after the story broke, back in November, to the management of their, I don't know what team that Ryan Clark's friend plays for. He doesn't say who he is. If Richie Incognito gets cut, I'm walking upstairs and telling the coach to pick him up today. He's like, that's the type of football player I want to play with. All that stuff in the locker room, that's how they act, that's how they talk. But as far as playing football, I want you to play nasty. I want you to be like that. And 98% of NFL players can handle their own in the locker room.
Exactly. And I mean, with football more than any other sport in the world, this is the kind of guy
you want on the field, on your team. You don't want him across from him.
You don't want him coming over to your house for popcorn and a movie.
No, you don't want him to go, check on your grandma for you.
Or watch your kids after soccer practice.
But you want him on your team. And if you're man enough to say, I can handle myself in the locker room, Incognito's not getting to me, that's the kind of guy you want to play with on the field. You don't want to go hang out in his house after it's over if he's I don't know that he's a punk outside of, if he walks out of the football field.
He could be a completely different person.
He might turn it on in there and say, look, this is how I am. I don't know.
That's possible.
But that's
we've seen people like that in the past.
That's the kind of guy that you want. Someone who's willing to do whatever it takes to win a football game is someone you want. And what about Jonathan Martin? Do you think he gets a job? I don't have a quote about it.
See, that was another question, and the exact opposite of that.
I know.
I think if you're players in a locker room, you tell your management there is no way I want that guy on my team.
I don't want him on my team. No. I don't want to look at him and be afraid that my name's going to be smeared.
Exactly.
And he's worth $102 million, $1.2 million next year. That's a lot of money for someone you don't know if they're going to get to play or not.
Yeah, and I mean, this being said, as far as the players are concerned, we both think that most players would want Incognito and most wouldn't want Martin. But as far as Roger Goodell goes, does he suspend him or ban him? I mean, do you think that either of those are an option?
I don't think you can ban him. I just don't think you can ban him unless you go back and ban all three of those players. And you're setting a tone that you're going to say, bully, and you get banned. You're going to have to do a more thorough investigation than this. I mean, that's what we saw with A-Rod. That's why we didn't get a lifetime ban on A-Rod, because there was no precedent. They couldn't go back and ban everyone else. So I don't think you can ban him.
Can you suspend him for conduct detrimental to the league?
I mean, he's been suspended 8 games with pay.
But now we've come out and found more.
This is the same incident.
Yeah, you're right.
Same incident. I mean, look, if you go out and you burn someone's house down, you get convicted.
Double jeopardy. I know where you're going.
I know. But then later, after you burnt their house down, you find out that there was actually $100,000 more of equipment in there that you burned. You didn't just burn a $50,000 house. You burned $100,000 worth of audio equipment inside that house. And you've already done your 9 months or whatever for burning the house down, you're not going to go back and serve 9 more because there's more stuff in there. I don't think you should be banned anymore.
Unless there was a person in there.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, this.
I see what you're saying. So, do you agree with me? We both think he's starting week 1 somewhere next year.
Somewhere. Yeah, I agree. Obviously not going to be then in Florida.
I don't see any one of them playing there next year.
Well,
I mean,
they're both up for arbitration. They're not going to re-sign either one of them. I can almost guarantee that, unless they think they're going to get sued by Jonathan Martin for some reason. If they don't re-sign it, they might eat $1.2 million and let him stick around for another year.
Just not playing.
Right. Just
tell him not even to come.
Yeah, suspend him with pay.
Yeah.
Which might be what he wants. I don't know. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm tired of this freaking story already. But we'll see what happens.
Well, getting away from football to what's going on behind us here this morning, the Olympics in Sochi.
Yeah, U.S. just lost an overtime hockey match to Russia. I hate losing to Russia like I hate losing to Glasgow, Kentucky.
Well, here's the thing about playing Russia in hockey. You feel like with Putin, Vladimir Putin, sitting up there watching them while they're playing, that if they lose, they might not be alive tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, they might get in front of a firing line and get executed if they lose.
Kind of the thing you feel. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you've got them. It shows them scoring a goal, and then it cuts away to Putin up there in his box, and he's like, I should be shirtless on my horse. Yeah, I mean, you wonder what the conditions really are there with that team.
Yeah, and actually Russia just overtook the United States in medal count today too. They've got 14. We've got 13.
Let's look at the medal count here. We got Germany with the most gold. They got 7.
Mm-hmm.
Switzerland in second with 5 gold. Then you got Canada, Netherlands, Norway, United States with 4 gold, and then Russia with 3. But then if you want to go total, you got Netherlands and Russia with 14, and then a two-way tie with Norway and the United States at 13, then Canada and Germany at 12. So, I mean, basically all those teams right there together in all of it except for Switzerland, who has 5 gold but only has 7 medals total. So, I mean, you figure one of those top 5's probably going to win the medal count at the end of the day. We're halfway. Next week marks the end, I believe, of the Olympics.
Yeah, let's see what we've got today. We've got ladies alpine skiing, the Super G.
That's what was on behind us.
We've got ladies cross country relay, women curling. I watched the women curl.
Wait, before you go any further, I've got to share a story here.
Okay.
After the show last week, you hang around a little bit. We're watching the Olympics on the TV.
Yeah.
I think it was men's cross
country skiing
is on. And there's a pack of about 5 skiers there in the front, 3 of whom have white, red, and blue on. Red, blue, whatever. And then you got 2 other countries. We didn't know who they were. Well, we just assumed that the red, white, and blue was America. And boy, were we cheering for those 3 Americans to win. We see them go across the goal line. We're cheering.
It was the Netherlands.
It pops up their time, and it's the Netherlands.
Yeah, we were fired up. I mean, like, I was yelling.
Yeah.
I was telling the high stick. I don't know what the rules are cross country sticking, but I was spiking people.
So basically, Netherlands has the same colors as us. So if you're watching, be sure who you're watching before you get too tore up.
Yeah.
But break the rest of the day down for us.
Curling, our women are going to curl in a qualification match. I don't know exactly who they're playing. I did watch them curl against South Korea. We beat them pretty handily.
Did you hear about the men's curling last night? I think it was U.S. and Russia. It might have been U.S. and China. I'm not sure. But apparently, I've never actually watched curling. I have to admit. I mean, I've watched it, but not enough to gather what's going on. But apparently, there's a blue circle.
Yeah.
You try to get your things in.
You got a small blue circle, and then you got it's sort of like a bullseye. You got target circles that are worth different points.
Well, each had 4, or the 4 total.
You start with 7.
Okay. They had the same exact amount in the circle to end the game, and one of them was like half an inch closer or something, causing us to lose by that half an inch because people were pretty tore up on Twitter. I mean, I'd imagine they'll probably get over pretty fast being the Olympic curling, but I mean,
was that a
qualifying?
Well, yeah, but you play in a round robin pool, so then it just seeds you.
Right. I'm not sure if what that did for us as far as that goes. Who will be matched up against, as opposed to who we were. But on Twitter, there was people. I was worried about them.
After we already had some ice hockey, we saw that happen today. Short track in the men's 1000s today. The skeleton is today, and the men's large hill. And I watched the small hill.
Is that what Brody Miller was doing last night?
No.
What's he do? I was watching that.
He does alpine skiing.
Where you go down the hill and you got a zigzag. Yeah, he didn't make it.
No, that's what I think he finished like 7th. But that's what the ladies are going to do today in Super G. But the ski jumping, I watched the small hill, and they were jumping 100 and some meters. I can't imagine what happens on this large hill.
Like you're going downhill in the air that far?
You go down this hill. They get you up on this big scaffolding deal, and then you go down this hill and you jump, and they stay in the air. Of course, they're going downhill, so gravity's helping them a lot. But they'll jump 100, 101
Seems
meters.
like it'd break your legs.
Well, no, it's the angle of the hill and the angle that you're coming down. Your force is cutting, whatever the slope is cutting half that much. But golly, 101 meters on the small hill. I can't wait to see what happens there.
I'll admit, I've watched more Olympics this year than I had before. That thing Brody Miller was doing last night, that was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got even a half of a second to decide what you're going to do going in and out of those posts.
Well, I was watching them, and they were talking about it before, and they say that you stay 3 ahead. You have your mind 3 flags ahead, and you hope that your legs remember what to do in between.
I mean,
and all the best skiers in the world are going down. They're not handling it because they say the snow's too rough. It's not what they're used to. It's these underdog type people that are coming up and handling this rough snow better.
Well, they say after about 3 people that it's almost impossible once that snow gets back. But I mean, just the amount of skill that has to take.
Well, and you can see why we hear so many ACLs getting torn out.
Yeah.
You see how their knees come up and turn?
And you train for 4 years, and then you got 2 minutes, minute 45 seconds that judges you on that 4 years. I mean, at least with hockey or a sport like that that's a long time event, if you make a mistake, you've got time to recover from it. One mistake in that, and you're done.
I mean, because they can tell you when your split gets to like plus 0.2 seconds, they're like, he's done.
Yeah.
Nothing he can do.
And something really cool they had this year, they got the simulcast where
Yeah,
after
they
somebody
show them
runs, they show them running next to each other, like a little hologram deal. That's pretty cool.
Another thing, in the men's speed skating for the United States, apparently we're changing uniforms. We're going back to the Under Armour uniforms we'd always been using. We had these new uniforms that were created, supposed to be the fastest uniforms ever. Reduce your wind resistance. But I don't know. People are complaining about them, so they're changing uniforms, going back. I don't know if that's going to turn things around for us, but we came in as favorites.
Are they made in the USA?
Made by Under Armour in the United States, yeah.
Good. Because we know, what was it, Ralph Lauren made them in China.
In China last year. Well, that was the walk-in ceremony.
Yeah, nevertheless.
Not the uniform.
You don't need to.
We always wear Nike and Under Armour stuff during the. Actually, past couple years, I think it's been the first time Under Armour's been involved. We're kind of seeing a changing of the guard in sports equipment. But moving on from the Olympics.
Let's talk a little MLB.
Okay, what do you want to talk first? I've got a.
Well, since Jeets came out, announced his retirement after this year, let's start there. I know you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I got some stuff about Derek Jeter. I was reading about him, looking him up, got his stats. Let me give you his career stats thus far. We know he only played 17 games last year, but up till then, 3,316 hits. That's the most by a Yankee, which I did not know.
I did that.
1,876 runs scored.
That's the most by a Yankee too, right?
I don't know, but I'll give you another one I know for a fact is the most by a Yankee. 256 home runs, 1,261 runs scored, 348 stolen bases, which is the most by a Yankee as well.
Really?
Yep.
That kind of surprises me.
I thought it'd be a lot more than that, and I thought he would have more than that. But yeah. He's a 13-time All-Star, 5 Golden Gloves, which I have no idea how he won, and 5 World Series championships.
Wait a second. You don't know how he won 5 Golden?
He's a terrible defensive.
Now, I can understand the argument that maybe his range ain't as good as other shortstops, but look, I don't like the Yankees. You know this. But if Jeets gets to a ball, he's throwing them out. We've seen it.
I do want to point out that statistically, he has never ranked above the 50th percentile in defense.
Right, because of his range.
And he commits about 17 errors a year.
I'd say that's pretty average for a shortstop.
That's a lot of errors.
Shortstop probably has the most errors in any position.
He committed 24 errors in a year that he won a Golden Glove.
Barrow committed like 10 last year as a first baseman.
But that being said, growing up, everybody was jumping, spinning off second base and doing the Jeter throw. I mean, he was an iconic outfielder. I just don't know that I can say he's one of the best fielding shortstops of all time.
Nobody's making that argument that he's one of the best fielding shortstops of all time.
But obviously one of the best, if not the best, offensive shortstops of all time. Got the most hits by a shortstop, and not one of the best defense. What I put, he's got the most hits by a shortstop, not the most stolen bases, home runs, or runs scored, but definitely has the most hits of any shortstop. Everybody's putting him in the top 5.
Okay.
He's putting him in the top 5 all-time shortstops.
Okay.
I've got my 4 people that I think are consensus. I think some people might consider better than him.
All right.
I want to see what you think about it.
Okay.
First one, Honus Wagner.
Here's the deal.
Dead ball error.
Right. When we're talking about people from that period,
that's why I didn't include anyone else. There were 4 others from the dead ball era I thought about and didn't include.
The argument is just there's 2 arguments. The first one is that back then players weren't near as athletic or devoted to their craft as they are now. I mean, most of them even had second jobs because baseball wasn't paying you enough to live back then. And we see it with the Olympics. Mm-hmm. Year after year, Olympic records get broken because athletes are better. But the reverse argument of that is if Honus Wagner was playing now and was getting the money Derek Jeter had and could devote his life to baseball with just the God-given ability he had back then, that he probably could be as good as Derek Jeter.
He did bat better than Derek Jeter. He batted 348. Derek Jeter batted 313.
In all fairness,
he wasn't getting the pitching.
Me and you, I promise you, could have pitched back then.
Oh yeah.
It's just
well, it's because they pitched so much.
Yeah,
anybody could do it. They're throwing 60.
It's apples and oranges, really.
Okay.
I feel like it would be a disrespect to either one to argue one or the other.
That's why I only included one.
Right.
The next 3 I've got are modern era players.
Okay.
I'm going to save the one that I like best for last. No, I'm going to save second last.
Okay.
The next one, Ozzie Smith.
Ozzie Smith, better defender, couldn't hold Jeter's jock offensively in the playoffs.
He batted 262. He only won 1 World Series. He didn't play in there as many playoffs.
I like Ozzie Smith. Great defender.
13 Gold Glove awards. Has the all-time record for assists and outs with 8,375, and the record for double plays 1,590. I think he's the best one of the best defensive players. Period.
Here's the thing:
MLB's ever had.
If I'm building a team and I'm starting spring training, I take Ozzie Smith. If I'm building a team in September for the playoffs, I pick Derek Jeter.
Well, here's another thing about Derek Jeter is a lot of the intangible leadership qualities he brings to that team. You couldn't ask for a better person to build a team around. As a person, I'm taking that out of it and just going player.
Right.
Let me give you a questionable one here.
Okay.
A-Rod. He's played more games at shortstop than he does third base. He's got 2,939 hits, 654 home runs, scored 1,919 runs, and had 1,969 RBIs.
The very popular answer to this would be Jeter over A-Rod.
I agree.
But I'm going to give you...
person.
Well, yeah, nobody likes A-Rod. But here's the argument for A-Rod. Take out his time with the Yankees.
I agree. That's what I'm going to do.
Take him back to the Mariners in Texas, and he is one of the few players to ever live up to a huge contract like
I
he
agree.
did. He signed that
He
first
made
contract.
that money the first time.
Right, and lived up to it. So, if I'm building, I'll say this. If I'm building a team somewhere other than New York, I take A-Rod over Jeter.
And we're going back 7 years now. We're going all the scandal. I think that A-Rod was a better shortstop. But taking that into account, when you're putting people in the Hall of Fame, they take a lot of things into account other than how they play.
Right.
So we'll see.
No way A-Rod gets in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, no.
0.
But
Gets knocked off the ballot the first year.
here's the one I like best. The person I think is better than Cal Ripken as the best shortstop of all time. Actually, I'm going to call it my favorite infielder of all time. Second to Chipper Jones. Some people don't think of him as a shortstop because he played his last 5 years as a third baseman. Cal Ripken Jr.
I love Cal Ripken Jr. The Iron Man. I mean, he, growing up, was one of my idols.
Yeah.
As an athlete. But it's just hard to say that when you compare him to the athletic shortstops, and I mean, I know he was athletic in his very first few days, but the way me and you remember him,
he was third base.
Yeah, he wasn't a Derek Jeter or an A-Rod or an Ozzie Smith.
But he got it done.
Right, and he did. So, out of respect to Cal Ripken, I can't say Jeter. I just say I don't know with that one.
I mean, offensively, we know he wasn't batting at the level that Jeter was batting.
Right.
He did have about as many hits and a lot more home runs. Almost double his home runs.
Yeah, I mean, if you go pre-2000, no shortstop's batting what a shortstop did post-2000.
Well, that's true.
I mean, the middle infielders have evolved tenfold from what they were 90s to the ball era.
Let me make one quick comment about Jeter before we run out of time. I think that Jeter, as the game evolved and he came out of the steroid era, we saw him go down and down and down because there was so much more emphasis on how he could play defense.
If there was one player in the MLB that you said never took steroids,
Cal Ripken. Current. Probably Jeter.
Yeah,
right.
I picked Jeter.
Oh yeah, good. You can't say he's not a great guy, but I'm saying as the steroid era ended and we started switching to defensive minded teams, we saw him decline every year. He hit the right time where he was peaking offensively during the steroid era, and his defense wasn't as big a deal because they were scoring 40 runs a game.
Before we go to the break, I want to say, Jeter plays anywhere but New York. Not even mentioned in the top 25.
No, not at all.
He's playing.
He would have wound up in New York though eventually. I think he played that well. Anyway, I mean they signed him as a 17-year-old kid.
But he doesn't. The playoffs are what made Derek Jeter.
Oh, I agree, Mr. November, Captain Clutch. We're out.